noches to everyone. I hope everybody was able to enjoy a good Saturday alongside a family. And please do allow me to say gracias for all your comments as well as your time to hear my stories out. Also, gracias Tony for allowing me to get on your platform. Stories written by a current prisoner in the hopes to reach someone out to stay away from all this prison life. Now, I want to get into about the Señor Chino from El DF. Like I stated, I do go through everyone's comments, and I noticed that there's been a couple of times that people asking about him, So just to let every one of you know that one of the señores that I have more knowledge of, or I had more runs in across due to one thing or another, has been Chino. Cause even though the this señor really likes being on the low, he don't like to be on the spotlight for any type, good or bad. He has a lot of wiggle room, you know. So if you're not in the mix, though, it's real rare you know about him. It's just the way he functions. Now, for the first time that I heard personally about Chino was when I was in Quinton. You know, I had already heard from an older camarada from San Juan, that there was a señor from El DF, and that he had a lot of workers in that area. Because as you know, there's a lot of paisanos, but most of his workers mainly came from, the Santa Cruz and mostly Oakland. Because, like, at this time, there was a paisa there. They called him Pelon, out of Oakland. He was originally from San Francisco, but he was living out in Oakland. He was a border brother. And, for those that have been in Quinton, for us or whoever's back there in West Block with us, it's real hard for us to get something because we're mostly slam. Well, at this time we were slam because it was a norteño yard, it was a norteño prison, so we didn't have a lot of movement. But this paisano was back there hitting, so he had a lot of pull, you know. Just that, just like everything, there. It's a shame to say it, but it's facts, that most of the camaradas, they look at paisanos and they see a sign of weakness for some reason, which I never got, I never understood because at the end of the day, whatever runs through your veins runs through the next man's veins. It didn't matter, you call yourself sureño, norteño, paisano. At the end of the day, we're Mexican, So how can you say you got warrior blood in you, but you look down on another man that has the same type of blood running through their veins, right? It just makes no sense. But anyways, back to the story. I apologize. But see what had happened with Pelon is that three camaradas out of San Jose, they decided to, hey, you know what? From me about 2-3 grams. Which Pelon, firmes, ahí te van. So they got fronted, and next they were playing dumb, you know. And as everybody knows, San Quentin is our reception, so we're there till we see the counselors, and then we eventually gonna get shipped out. So we were there, and just time is ain't as other pintas. There is basically you get your 20 days, and other pintas is 20 days. You don't pay up, it's double. You don't pay up, you're gonna get yours. Here is just you don't have those options. Basically, when you say it's time, it's time. But they were playing dumb, and the paisa just kept saying, "All right, all right." But see, what this vato didn't know that this paisa was a hitter, you know. And just one day, man, he just came out and started whacking all three of them. Now, this is the time where I want everybody to understand that there wasn't a split per se between us and the paisas, but we weren't united like that. Mainly paisas always said, we're our own people, we're a program, and they dictated their stuff, and the homies, we did our own. If they hoop bang, we left them alone, and we did our thing. They didn't get involved, you know. So it wasn't what it is now. But this happened, and homeboy, I could say they put tips on homeboy, because they did. But the one thing I can't take from Pelone is they didn't take the fierro. He got his, because even if he was able to book one time each one of them, he did. So, anyways, all three of them, they got taken to the hole. Now, the people that stayed behind, they started pressing that issue. They started pressing that issue, but that's one thing I could say about Chino. All the stories I know about Chino, he's never let his man by their own. He's always come through and spoke up for them. So when they hit the hole, at first it was like, okay, this paisa, and then they were investigated. I guess they ran the make who the paisa was working for, and the camaradas from Sanjo, they weren't in touch with nobody, but they were taking, yeah, there was favoritism, as there is in all these stories I'm telling you. And then the vatos running the make, they were favored, they were, you know, they were favoring the homies. So they shot word up, but they were shooting it in the sense they were expecting for word to come back, to hit this paisa and remove him, which it didn't happen like that. Word came back that they were to hit the three sureños and remove them, and the paisa, whatever they had took was M's money. This paisa was under, Chino. So it happened, and so they the three homies, they got hit in the back, and the paisa came out clean. But throughout the years, it's just little funks like this that I heard, like, you know. But the biggest one that I can sincerely say that I know about Chino, and I gotta give this man my respect, is for that incident that happened in Ironwood, with the paisas, where the camaradas killed the paisa. At this time, the paisa running the yard, excuse me, for the for the paisas was Aguila from Nayarit, and he was actually one of the only ones that skated, because Chino ended up greenlighting the whole yard. Period. If you were Sureño or Paisa, you were still gonna answer up in the hole. So when this happened, it was like, man, I had to give my respects to him. Now, mind you, by this time, I personally had not met Chino. He just his name kept popping up. It was mainly because of the same reason. Like, for another example, in A yard, the paisa when I was there running the paisas was Aguacate, and he was answering up to Chino. And we actually had a couple. We didn't go to war. We didn't have. It did not go up between us and them. But there was a couple times that it was to that point. But this happened on BR. Then all of a sudden, there started being a big movement, a big change in everything, in the whole program. Now, for those that know what I'm talking about. Before this, it was uh, it was a regular thing that in a lot of prisons it was just vices and homies were always going up. They were always going up against each other because for the same reason. It was always one thinking that the next was smaller than they were. And it was on both sides. You know, because there is some of those paisas that think that sureños are plásticos or or wannabe Mexicanos or pochos. There's from both sides. And like I stated, I never understood it, me personally. Because I really think everybody comes from whatever background you come from, and another man can't tell you what to be because he didn't live in your shoes. He didn't know what you had to go through, so he can't tell you what to be. When you come from different backgrounds. But anyways, so by this time I had came back that from there forward, paisas were obligated to follow the Sureño program. So yes, we're gonna be two different ranflas, but we're gonna follow same rules and regulations. And we seen the paisas go at it with another race, we were to jump in, and vice versa, which it was a big change. And throughout the years you started hearing about like for example I spoke about Medina. He was a paisa, but he was running both ranflas, you know, and I gone places where a homie is running both ranflas, and at the end of the day, you got to show respect to the Senor Chino for the simple reason that he was able to look past all that. I understand he was never from a neighborhood. He was just a paisa, but you know, he didn't make the camaradas any smaller or the paisas. He wanted to be equal across the board for each one of us, which was good for Raza, right? But it just happened throughout the time. I'll give you another example. When I was in Corcoran, there was a big issue that happened in Fort Lev. I was in Fort Wright, but like I stated before, I was in charge of opening that pipeline and making sure what needed to get back there from every building. So I had to set up bloqueros, and so an incident happened in Fort Lev. You know, there was a paisano they called him also from oh, not from Cancun, but from the other port where they do spring break. Cuernavaca, what is it called? Acapulco. So he was from Acapulco. He was held up with the homie Bullet from Compton, and they went out to yard. And I didn't quite understood what had happened, but I guess some two cellies, two different camaradas. They got at also the wrong way because he was the only paisa out there. So next yard, Bullet and also went out there and they handled their business. And now, when I got word of it, it was basically the guy in charge of the bloque, asking me to show word to be yard to have Bullet and also wet. Now I knew better, so I needed to hear more about it. So I got more detail, and at the end of the day, the camaradas were wrong for what they did. They basically they were basically trying to make fun, and we're not allowed to do that. That's why sometimes I see YouTube and I see like they talk about upstate and down south and how supposedly they look at upstaters one way or but at least in my case I never saw it, and if I would have seen it, you know the proof is in the pudding. So it wasn't allowed, period. Just like in this case, I sent word out, and due to a paisa being involved, and I guess the one in charge of keeping that order was the señor from El DF. He it came back down there to go ahead and make an example of these two camaradas. That it wasn't going to be tolerated, period, no more. Which was a hard thing because, to be sincere, there was a lot of camaradas that really seen a big difference amongst us. So this happened, and they removed the camaradas, and it was an eye opener for a lot of people, to be sincere. Yeah, Shoe and Corcoran, because word has always traveled, and but to up to this point, where at least me, I had not seen it firsthand. But the reason why I say that all I can do is respect this man is for the simple reason that there ain't carnales like him. And let's be sincere, I ain't trying to put this man in a pedestal and say, oh, he's this or nah. At the end of the day, he's part of the organization, and there's a lot of bad there, as long as he has had bad in him too, you know, to where he's done a lot of bad calls, he's done favoritism, but overall, he's done with a lot of them didn't have the courage to do, which was, you know, unite Raza. And when I say courage, I don't mean to state or try to input out there that the carnales didn't have the courage. It's just, for those that know or are in the know, at this time is where they were at each other's throats. Every carnal was waiting for one just to open that window a little bit, to be at his throat, start politicking against him, start taking whatever he had. So for one to start pushing an equal right for paisas and sureños, and he got a lot of backlash for it. Up, as far as I know, up to 6 months ago, he still has a lot of señores that have him on the green light, due to this. I'll give you an example. Mosca. Mosca was really against Chino. For some reason, he didn't want no workers from Chino on the yards where he was at. It's just something he did not like about Chino. And when it came down to it, it was this. But you know, the thing with Chino is that he has a lot of power, and it ain't like all the other senores. Chino is actually one of those real ones that don't like his business out there. He likes to keep everything low key. You know, like when I hit Pelican Bay, he actually had carnales from Maí with him. He had some from Calexico. He had some from Lowe's. All the San Diego Ranfla was with them. But like I stated, there was a lot that didn't like him. It's why, when I hit Pelican Bay, I went up there with the assumption that he was on the green line. And when I hit up there, I happened to land on the section where he was at, and Babo from Florencia were at. So I was able to get first-hand knowledge, and not from him, but from the other senor, on why they were being hated. Because, for one, the Florencia Canales, they were with him. So they told me, and what it is that Chino has a lot of pipelines open, man. He has a lot of movement. He's doing a lot, to the point where he has a direct line with Sinaloa. He has a direct line with Tijuas and Tamaulipas too. So just think about that. Usually senores are plugged in like Fox with Michoacan, like the homie from Oxnard or Evil. He's plugged in with right there, con los de Baja. There's been quite a few, bat with Tijuas too. They're all plugged in with one, you know, but this man is plugged in with three. So just think about the flow that he has coming in from Mexico. It is why, like I stated before, the powerhouse in Pelican Bay was the SD card. I'm talking about every one of them, Silent, um, Weather Sherm, Boo Boo, you know, Sniper from Otay, you know, Bat. They were all, somehow, some way working, with Chino about this. And not to mention all the workers he has in the joint. For example, there's a lot of joints that if he don't have camaradas working for him, he has paisanos working for him. So regardless, he has uh, he has something happening on the yard. Like I want to give you a short other story. Sorry if I'm taking this long. I'm just where I come from. Chino has a neighborhood in where I come from, because there is other canales in the town where I'm at. You know, they basically built a mesa system in town, which is Chino and two other canales. You know, and at the end of the day, what happened here was, the Chino's crew actually went to war with homeboys from Cantarana's crew, and they killed someone from over there. Now this is rare. This never happened where I was out there. But then again, there was no canales out there, so they went to war for a couple years. Now, when push came to shove, you know, the difference here was aquí estoy, dime, and I'll support you. And Spider from Cantaranos was the type that I need this much this month. Period. That's it. You you find, excuse my language, or you find whatever, find dope, find whatever you're gonna use. But I need this much every month for you to have my name in your hood. And Chino, he's the type like, what you need? Oh, well, we want access to this. This what sells in town. Okay, how much you need? Boom, ahí te va. You don't gotta pay me monthly, but you gotta just move my work. So if you told him I need 40 every other week, he has 40 pounds every other week for you in town. You need guns? Let me figure out where I have them around town, and he will support them. You see the difference? So when he came out on top, he actually took over this other neighborhood. And now, till 6 months ago, he actually not only has half of the town where I come from, he has a whole county. Please just wrap around your head around that. A whole county is answering up to him. Now I understand where I come from. There ain't that many homies as the barrios from down south, but I can guarantee you there's from 3 to 5 neighborhoods in every town. So that's how he's been able to manage. But this is one of the camaradas that I could say I'm not gonna say he's good people because that would be dumb, but he's a good Billy, in the sense that he has actually had a lot of carnales go against him for this, and he's come out on top, and he's able to make changes in the raza. And now there's been a couple times where I think he was in the wrong, yes, and like I stated in the beginning, I will get to the stories that I had already implemented. I'm telling you guys about. It's just that I don't want to be one of those that is not able to put my story out there because I'm really having you guys jump from one thing to another to another. I'm trying to make sense of my story. I don't know if I make any sense in what I'm saying, but for example, I started with you guys from the time I hit San Quentin, Tracy, Vacaville, then Ironwood, then Tehachapi, now my Corcoran, and I wanna tell my story and you guys be able to follow what I'm telling you, you know, in that timeline. I don't want to be jumping from one to another, and then next, my story come out confusing. No, I'm just trying to be as respectful as possible to the requests. Me saying something about Chino, which I did, but like I said, I actually have one or two stories I want to tell about him in the near future. And again, I ain't trying to glorify him. I'm just trying you know, to be as clear as possible with my story with you, if I make sense. And you know, I know in the last two stories I have lost track of what I was telling you or what I said I was going to continue telling you. It's just I want to make sure I touch base with you guys. So again, I'm not glorifying anything. I'm not glorifying nobody. I'm telling you these stories because it was a heartbreaking experience for me. And I know and I completely understand that there's people out there that are hearing my stories and are saying, "Mira nomás, que pendejo," or you know, you saw all this time and time again, and you still maintain. That's how we're raised. If you're really about that business, and you know, You're raised as so, and you gotta understand, you're a youngster. You don't have the right common sense. You're pushing, basically in your head is, the good overweighs the bad, which is the good. Trying to maintain my gente clean. I'm trying to surround myself with clean people. I'm trying to do what I'm supposed to. And when in reality is nothing like that. It's backstab after backstab, after homies do getting done dirty, after, you know, putting up and shutting up, you know, either listen and shut up. I said this and follow it, which I get it now. Now I'm not gonna sit here and be like, oh, I sit down and be like, ooh, pobrecito yo, or nah. Everything that I have done, I done it from the heart, and it's past tense. It is why I'm actually speaking about it. You know, I'm speaking about it because, I know human beings is a hard thing to teach in that aspect. Like I tell you what I went through, so you don't have to go through it. Human beings don't work like that. It's basically humans think like, I don't really care what you went through. It's my life, and I have to go through my own experience and live my life. You know, which I'm hoping this won't be the case. They see for what it is. After all, I'm not the only one. you know, I'm not the only one. I'm one out of thousands that have the same story. Now, please also don't misunderstand the concept of my stories. I'm trying to open up that window to in the hopes of helping somebody not go through this prison life. But in no shape or form am I trying to belittle, you know, the Sureño movement, the señores, anything. But at the same time, this is my story, and I want to be as sincere as possible with how things were. I'm in a position where I don't have to worry about the next man thinking or politicking against me or using what I say against me, you know. So I'm able to be open and be sincere with things. I know that I haven't gotten into the story of my first celly, and to that one question, yes, my first celly was from Riverside, which I will get in depth about him. You know, as well as I will get in depth with all the other questions. I have stated it before, and I'll say it again to you guys. Me and Tony plan on having at least a sit down answering everyone's questions. And we're working on maybe having a live with you guys to actually do have that one-on-one interaction with you, and be able to answer your question on the spot. And basically, I want to make sure that my story is being able to be understood the right way. Again, I ain't out for to tell anybody, what, go PC. I don't believe in PC. Rat, because even though I'm here now, I think that's the lowest you could actually go. Tell on somebody is it's just not right. At the end of the day, you're out there, you're doing your thing, man up. You know, I ain't trying to get nobody out their neighborhood. I really think neighborhood is something good because it's something that brings family. I mean, my case, I come from the ghetto. I'm a, you know, single mother, never home. So the only sense of family I had was my neighborhood. So I ain't gonna belittle it, you know. But at the end of the day, throughout my time, busted, the only ones that stood by was my family, my blood family. It is why with this I'll close again in the hopes everybody will have a great night. You know, gracias for listening. Please value yourself and value your family always. Gracias.